award-winning Tennessee Wildcast is on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee Wildcast. We're glad you're tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we have another great show for you today.
Yes.
Mr. Jason Holland is in the house.
Everybody.
Welcome back, Jason.
Thank you very much. Glad to be back.
Seems just like yesterday you were here with us talking about punching.
Hopefully, make sure everybody understands it was not boxing. I am not a fighter. Punching grass for bass.
Oh, yeah.
That maxes out my ability.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Punching grass for bass.
That's a lot of rhyming. We're not rappers either.
No,
Todd,
we're not.
May edit that out. I don't know. I'm falling apart.
Yeah. Hey, thanks to Todd for running the board back here, making it sound good.
Yeah.
Mr. Don King helping me co-host
You
today.
bet, Jason. Thanks for dealing me in around the table again today.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Always
Hey,
fun.
since Jason was here last, I don't know that he's heard.
Uh-oh. Heard what?
You heard the intro, the award-winning Tennessee Wildcast.
I did hear that intro.
Well, there's your first place to prove it.
Looky there.
Yeah,
Hey,
the
hardware.
yeah, uh-huh.
Congratulations.
You
I
bet.
have not seen this, heard the news.
For our radio listeners, we are showing a plaque of the first place from the Association for Conservation Information. So,
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
anyway,
we were
it's a national award, and we were first place among all the competitors from around the country.
Wow.
So it's quite an honor. And anyway,
Well, congratulations, team.
Hey, thank you for being on the show.
Well, I mean, I wasn't going to take all the credit, but I mean, I will take half. That's fair, right?
Hey,
half the credit?
yeah, sure.
Yeah, I don't know if it's something you've done or what, but I mean the listenership is up a little bit. That's great to see. People
Yeah,
are tuning us
yeah,
in.
heck yeah.
Signing on and subscribing through their favorite podcast platform, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, whatever you do, SoundCloud. It's out there. Go find us.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's what I think has been really unique because of the last, let's say, 19, 20 months of what we've all been through.
Uh-huh.
Everybody has now become more adept to not only doing video conferencing and video meetings, all this electronic or technology has entered all of our lives. And especially you take an older generation that, for myself, I'm kind of on the bubble. I'm in my mid-40s, so I've got a little bit of technology, not near like my kids do. I get my 8-year-old to fix my iPhone.
Yeah.
Sure.
But what you've got is that older generation that just never was introduced to computers in their normal working until later on in their life. And so they didn't pick it up as fast as I did. And, of course, not nearly as fast as my kids have picked it up. And so now, podcasting, everybody talks about podcasting.
Yeah.
Everybody's podcasting in every organization. And so now it's just become, I don't want to say on the fringe, but there was just kind of a core group that listen to podcasts now. I'm hearing people that are my parents' age talking about their favorite podcasts.
Sure,
and it's just exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, especially with Wildcast, who's been doing it for years, award-winning, and even, winning again.
Yeah.
You guys were ahead of the curve, and I think that's just, we're seeing in the numbers, we're seeing in the awards. You get great guests that come on.
Exactly.
Like Jason Holland.
That's the secret right
I mean,
there.
that's kind of what I was getting at, but I don't want to hurt my shoulder patting myself on the back or anything. But no, it's just it's exciting to see what this show has done, what the agency has done, being forward thinking and putting the resources, you guys behind the mic. And again, it's not only is it teaching people, educating people, but more importantly, it's getting them more accustomed to some of the technology that's out there. And now we're doing about stuff that we all love, the outdoors. And you're marrying up really cool pieces of it, and it's obviously working. So that was a shameless plug on my part for Wildcast.
Well, thanks for all the kind words. I mean, it is cool that we've come this far, and I'm glad it's reaching the different audiences, and people are picking it up and enjoying it. It's what it's there for.
Yeah, well, when my dad's 68, 69 years old, and he's talking about podcasts.
Wildcast. No.
Yeah, well,
Maybe not.
all right. Well, sure, I'll play your game. Why not? But again, he's a minister, so he's always listening to the different ministers and preachers and groups that are out there. And you take a few years ago
and commentaries and all kinds of
exactly
stuff that's available.
Yeah,
now.
and so now it's taking advantage of the tools and having someone in that generation that just figured out what texting was a few years ago. It's exciting to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also our radio partners, couldn't do it without them putting it out there on the radio. If you probably just a few weeks ago or last week, we had the show at WJJM, and so that's great.
Right.
Radio partners are great.
Right.
So
Well, it's the main thing is what we're doing is getting that information out, and there's a bunch of avenues, but still, when you have an avenue directly from the wildlife agency, I think it carries a little bit more weight, and it's not just law enforcement. So I'll give you my experience with TWRA has always been license and then the enforcement side, and that's just again being an outdoorsman. That's where my path would run into the TWRA. Not in a bad way, by the way, and doing all the right things.
you've got your license, right?
Yeah, I got my license, do it the right way.
Boat's registered.
Yeah, but that's the avenue that I interacted with the TWRA. Now being exposed to it through Wildcast and seeing all the different avenues of what the agency actually does, I think the general public, as they hear it, see it, touch it, and feel it, I mean, there's so much that the agency does.
Yeah.
Across the board. It's not just game ward. It's not just fishing license or registering a boat. From the research, from just the overall administration, there's what you guys do is incredible. And now being exposed to it, I think that's always the big part. Is once you get exposed to something, then that you start seeing it in a different light, and it's not just about making sure you have them. Your right license or you got the right amount of fish or the right size of fish. There's so much more that you do. And again, education is such a huge part of what the agency is doing. And now even more so embracing it through the show and other avenues that you're doing. We want people to get out, go fishing, enjoy the resources that we have here in our state, because quite honestly, we've got one of the best states for people that enjoy the outdoors.
Oh, yeah.
From every aspect. Of course, I'm focusing really on the fishing side, so I love to do, but I'm an avid duck hunter. And what we have from a duck hunting resource across the state, it's just, the list goes on. And because, we'll get to fishing.
Sure. Whenever. That's good.
Well, when you look at the state, because we're long and skinny, right? I mean, you're give or take 9 to 10 hours from the west side to the east side.
Yeah, it's a trip.
I mean, we have almost 3 separate states in the one, depending on what part of the country you're at, what you like to do, which for me, as being an outdoorsman, is great because I can go to the Smokies and get a whole different experience from a fishing aspect, or I can go all the way west down to, say, to Pickwick and get a complete, and everything in between. It's exciting that I don't have to go out of the state and still get to do all the great things that I love to do, and not just get to do it, but actually do it as some of the best in the country.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what's even more impressive when you look at our state from a fishing aspect, Kentucky Lake, Dale Hollow. Those are legendary places that people come from across the country and from around the world.
With state records and world records and all kinds of fun stuff.
And this is in our home state. And so when you think of it that way, when you get that understanding and realization how blessed we really are to be in this state, if you enjoy the outdoors, it makes you appreciate it. Hopefully, take care of the resource even more so once you kind of get bought into it. And hey, this is my state, this is my resource. I want to keep it up, keep it clean, and that hopefully that gets perpetuated down from my kids to their kids, and we continue to make the overall fishing and hunting in the outdoors in our state world class like it is. So that was a long-winded plug.
And cut. Thank you for that commercial.
And I did not get paid 1 penny extra for that plug, by the way. So,
well, okay, yeah, we appreciate the good, kind words. That's awesome. I mean, you're right on.
We appreciate Jason's contributions to the tips and the fishing side of all this great stuff that we do have to offer in the state. And along those lines, tell us a little bit about your opportunities, on social media and that kind of thing. Where can they go to find even more of Jason Holland?
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
I'm going to get a plug. So all your social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We have TikTok now. Thank God. Again, don't get overly excited. I think I've got like 2 out there. And my oldest daughter actually put them all together. I don't even know what a TikTok
is. That
was.
where you cast it out and it flies back at you?
Well, that's typically how most of my fishing goes. But
that's the fly rod move.
It's a little bit. That's what I thought. But apparently, there's a whole social media platform called TikTok, which, by the way, she got me on it, and it's crazy addictive. I did not realize it, but I find myself looking at. Anyway, we're totally off the subject. But social media, we are building up the YouTube. That is probably our number one area. We're trying to get more content out there, and not just me holding a fish or me casting, and that's all well, great and good. But there's millions of videos out there like that, and that's okay. Where we're trying to build that channel is exactly kind of what we're doing here. It's the education factor, and it's not just education for the hardcore angler, and that's still good. But there's a bunch of guys that do that as well. All the professional fishermen, they're doing that, and there's absolutely a spot for that, and we will do some of that. But really, where I think the most value is the guy that's 15 years old, 16 years old, that's getting into fishing, that may or may not have had a role model in his life that taught him how to fish, and he's learning brand new everything.
Yeah.
Because I remember being that, not necessarily that far, because I did have some grandfathers that fished, but really just absorbing everything that I could find. And this has been years ago, but there wasn't a lot of resources to do that. And the way how I did it then was just I'd go sit at the tackle store.
Yeah.
I would get a cup of coffee and I'd just sit at whatever table, and whoever would come by and talk to some kid that was just ate up with bass fishing. That's where I learned a lot. And then I joined a bass club, and I will make a shameless plug for your local bass clubs. There's, of course, in any state, but here in the state of Tennessee, if you're into fishing and you want to learn more, get into a bass club. It's very inexpensive
and fun.
Yeah. Most of them will have. If you don't have a boat, they'll have ability to ride with. And that was the biggest change in my overall fishing process, was just getting around guys that loved it and was eating up with it as much as I was. So YouTube, and then we are very close to rolling out consistently our podcast, and so hopefully in the next month or two, that'll be
all right.
Another aspect of it.
Yeah, starring Jason Harmon every other week.
Yeah, Jason Harmon on Jason Holland Fishing. We'll get Mr. Don to come and sing.
Yeah, heck yeah.
We'll get Todd to come in there and show me how bad I am at running my own board. This is going to be great. We're going to get full resources.
No, but yeah, we're looking forward to hearing more about that and seeing that, or hearing that, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So as that, thanks for asking.
Yeah, you bet.
As that starts to happen, I will take this opportunity to shamelessly plug what I got going on again. So,
but at Jason Holland on all the social media accounts.
Yep, Jason Holland Fishing.
Yeah.
Everywhere you want to go. Come check me out. And not just come and follow. That's wonderful. Interact. If you got questions, that truly is my passion. That's what I love to do, is share.
Yeah.
And hopefully help out. And I've done that. Get pictures back, get videos back from people that I don't know from Adam that just reached out on that platform.
Isn't that cool when you get response like that?
It is so awesome, because it's the opportunity to do what I love to do, but even more importantly is actually see the fruits of your labor, and that person saying, hey, because of what you shared with me, I was able to catch this fish, and then that person in turn will teach someone else. And again, that's how the sport grows, and it's great to see. So anyway, that's not why you got me here.
Hey, it's fall.
It is fall, and it is fall fishing time now.
Cooling off.
Yeah, we've talked about it in the past. We talked about the grass, frog fishing, punching, grass for bass. Again, my two favorite ways to fish, hands down, bar none, my favorite.
Yeah.
What goes hand in hand with that is the fall fishing, is that transition from deep to shallow. And this is where springtime and the fall time, so if you're a bank fisherman, so you don't have a boat, you don't have a kayak, whatever, you fish for the bank, this is your time to shine.
That would be me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love this time of year, the temperatures and the shallow water fishing. That's where I like it.
It's perfect, because everything's starting to get cooler. There's not as much traffic on our lakes, and that's always good. It helps especially from a bank fisherman, so you're not having to deal with all the waves and just people everywhere. Because typically you're in a cove, and that's where a lot of traffic will happen. But even more so, all those fish that you didn't have access to get to, that have moved out deep, are now pulling back into the shallows. And so now you can go out and not just catch one or two, you can catch 1 or 2 dozen, if not more. And it's great, because a lot of people get to come in and enjoy it, and it shrinks the whole lake down. And that's what makes it so much fun. If you're from a bank, if you're fishing from a boat, it simplifies the whole process. You can still catch them out a little bit deeper. You can catch them on in the creek channel. You can catch them on some creek humps. But really, a vast majority of the bass are going to move into those shallow areas following the bait.
Yep.
And man, it's just a ton of fun. You can power fishing is it's kind of the term, but basically it's the fastest you can cast, fastest you can reel. It's moving baits, it's big baits, it's heavy line. It's a lot of fun. You don't have to. I mean, you still can catch them on more finesse stuff, but now you grab a crankbait. It's just what we talk about today.
Okay.
It's crankbait fishing, and you just cover a bunch of water. And now is the time is when you're going to load up. You may not catch the biggest fish of the year. You'll still catch some good ones. But this is now when you start catching the quantity of fish. And let's just be honest. I love fishing. I love catching a lot more than I like fishing. So,
Will this apply to, say, your creeks and stuff too, or is this mainly your bigger bodies of water? Just run shallow up, or are you back up in those creeks?
yeah. So if you're fishing, say, just a creek, that this time of year is not going to really change that much from just an actual. When I say a creek, that's a give or take 25, 30 yard across, straight up creek.
Right.
That's not going to change just a whole lot because, again, that's still water temp may change a little bit, but you're going to have consistent current and pretty much consistent depth. So it's not going to change a whole lot of that.
Gotcha.
Really, where it's going to is your reservoirs.
Reservoir, yep.
All those fish that were out on the ledges that are out deeper are now following the shad back into the back of the creeks, and it's a lot of fun.
So what do we need? What are you going to first?
All right, so just to clarify, I was given some instruction. I have a tendency to, because it's a video podcast, I have a tendency to say, hey, and just start talking about the bait and showing the camera. But I got to keep remembering this is a podcast, so I need to tell more of the story opposed to just a video. So what we're going to talk about is crankbaits. Crankbaits, you're going to have shallower running crankbaits, and really shallow is always relative, depending on your body of water. But you're really looking at that. When I say shallow, I'm talking that 6 inches to give or take 6 foot. Let's just say somewhere in that range.
Okay.
That's really where you're going to focus on.
You can cast from a bank and hit that depth of water.
Absolutely. So just a tip when you're fishing from a bank, as much as you can parallel the bank opposed to just taking it and going straight out to the middle. Because, again, you go straight at the middle of the creek, you're going to have half of your cast that's going to be completely unproductive. You're not in the quote-unquote strike zone or the area where the vast majority of the population of fish are at.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if you're on the bank, and, of course, you're always dealing with obstacles, branches, I get that. But as much as you can, throw parallel to the bank and keep that bait in that strike zone as long as you possibly can, you're going to raise your chances of catching a fish, because now a larger percentage of that cast will be in the strike zone opposed to, you're throwing out 12 feet deep and then reeling it back to you. Tip.
Yeah.
So
The secret.
Makes sense to me.
A real secret.
a real secret. Make sure you check those out too.
Yeah, on our Facebook,
It's
on our
just-
YouTube.
Just crazy plugs going on today. It's like an infomercial. So we're going to talk about. We're going to start shallow and work our way deep on the crankbaits.
Okay.
So we're going to start with the shallow. This is a Rapala. It's called a Brat. Is the name of it.
Yeah.
It is a square-billed crankbait. So for guys that are watching, this is what it looks like. It's
Gold in color?
yeah. So I'd stay with the natural colors this time of year. So I'm going to do. This one is kind of a greenish gold back with a bone color sides.
Yeah.
The other one that I'm holding here is a blue back, blue on the side, and a little bit more, I said transparent on the bottom. And again, that's just going to be watercolor. So the other tip is the darker the watercolor, the darker the bait you're going to go. And the absolute opposite, the more clear, the more translucent, or the more lighter colors you're going to go.
Okay.
That's just for profiling. We don't got time to go into that. So, again, this bait, it's called the Brat. It's a square bill crankbait, and all that means is the actual bill on it has a square-ish or a coffin type. Sometimes they're called a coffin bill.
Okay.
And all that does is it helps it deflect. So when you're throwing this, you want to run it into everything you can run it into, which I know sounds crazy.
Make
Yeah.
some noise.
Well, not only the noise, but the deflection action is really what you want. So, again, you think treble hooks, I want to keep it as clear. No, these are actually built and made. So as they run, that bill, and that's where the square comes in. When it hits something, it's designed to hit and then deflect off.
Oh, I got you.
Where a round bill has a tendency to hit and then just go straight in and dig in. A square bill, because of those hard 90-degree edges, when it hits, it's going to deflect off. And so where you get a lot of your bites is when you're reeling it, you hit a stump, you hit a log, and then when it hits, it's going to bounce. And that bounce, it creates that reaction strike is kind of what you hear. But basically, it's the fish, it happens so fast out of just their normal reaction or the normal predatory instincts kick in, they just grab it with their mouth. They're not even made to be hungry.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just
mad at it.
Yeah, they're just hanging out there having a great day, and all of a sudden something pops by their head, and they just reach out and grab it. And so that's called, you're creating a strike. It's not a feeding strike. So square bill crankbaits are great for that. The length of the bill will determine how deep it will run. So this specific Rapala Brat's going to run in that 3 to 6 foot. If you need to go shallower, they make other products. Bandit makes one called a Bandit 100. Same square type bill. It's just a shorter bill. And so, again, the shorter the bill, the shallower it's going to run.
Okay.
So that's a great tip. The longer the bill, the deeper it runs. The shorter the bill, the shallower it runs. So
that one looks to be about 3/4 of an inch from the front of the.
Yes, sir. So the bill, that's a fair statement. The bill itself is about 3/4 of an inch. The bait itself is about 2.5, 2 3/4 inches long. Really great. This is probably one of my favorite square bills because this is actually more buoyant. And so if you're running into something and you hit it, you can actually pause it and the bait will rise up above it.
Get up above it, yeah.
Instead of just sitting there, then you have to go get it. So that is the
Cool.
Rapala
I like
Brat. The other one we're going to talk about real quick is the Strike King. This is another square bill. But as you can see, for the people that are watching, for the people that are listening, it's the same basic profile.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit longer. This is actually 3 1/4, almost 3.5 inches long. So if you're in an area or in a lake that has bigger bait fish, such as a chick, it just has gizzard shad and different things. So the bigger profile. Now, where a smaller crankbait works great is your highland reservoirs. So your Dale Hollows, your Timms Ford, Center Hill. It just has a smaller bait profile. And again, experiment with either one. If you've got them, you can get them for $5 or $6 a piece. I recommend you get a couple of each and just, again, that's always try something different. If you're throwing the Strike King, 1.5 for 30 minutes, you're not getting many bites. Take it, cut it off, tie in the other one. Throw the smaller one, see if that changes.
Yeah.
Again, always be experienced. Don't be me. I get stubborn. I'm like they're gonna eat this.
By golly,
yeah, they're eating this one. I don't care if I got to force feed it. They're gonna eat this one. Don't do that. Be smarter than I am, and just cut and put it on. So same type of deal. Square bill, about 3/4 inches long. So it's gonna run in that 3 to 6 inch depth range. Excuse me. All right, so now we're going to move on to probably my favorite crankbait of all time. Just hands down, year-round, my favorite crankbait, and that is the Bandit 200.
I was just about to say Bandit. I was right on it.
Yeah, I mean, Bandit 2, and this is, and we're giving all kinds of, this is my favorite color. This is called the root beer chartreuse.
Oh.
So it's a greenish color with kind of a blue fleck on the top. The sides are really bright chartreuse, and then the very bottom, it has an orange stripe across it. The bill's about a 1 inch long bill, and this one runs, give or take, in that 4 to 8 foot range. And so it is a round bill opposed to a square bill. So you're not going to have the deflective properties as much as a square bill. But these baits float as well. They got a great knock to them. I don't know if you can hear it.
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
It's perfect. What makes them even better is the real tight wobble. But if you guys can see this bait, or you can go online and look at it, it is about, give or take, 2 inches long. The actual bait, not the bill. You add the bill to it, you add about 3 inches. But the bait itself is giving. So it fits a lot of different profiles. So no matter what time of year, I'll throw it year round. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what's going on. I will always have one of these tied on the deck. This color is really good. Again, the root beer chartreuse. This is killer color on Old Hickory. This color, it's for stained water. This type of color, a darker color, maybe with a little bit of flash, or a brighter color, an orange or a red. It's going to be good for that dirtier, dingy water, opposed to a real clear reservoir. So
Awesome, yeah.
the other bait in the Bandit 200, if you guys that are watching this,
It's like a tiger.
it's called a mistake. That's the name of it.
Mistake.
One side is a red with tiger stripes. The other side is a chartreuse with tiger stripes, and then the very bottom is all chartreuse with a light orange stripe across the bottom. This bait will surprise you of the amount of flash that it gets. So again, as the crankbait goes through, remember it rolls. So it rolls left and right, again, real fast depending on the wobble. And those two separate colors, it's Pickwick. This is the absolute color to throw on Pickwick, because Pickwick could be a little stained, or depending on where you're at, could be a little bit more clear. absolute fantastic color. So
Getting all the real secrets here.
yeah, well, I tell you the other one, Jim Duckworth. Anyway, check him out. He's a great fisherman. But his favorite color on Old Hickory is called, I think it's Mad Cow, I believe, or Spotted Cow. Anyway, it's a white bait and it looks like a cow. It's got black dots on the top of it. So that's a great Old Hickory bait as well. But Bandit, hands down, my favorite crankbait, just because I can throw it year round, and it stays in that 4 to 8 foot range. Now, that's really as deep as you're going to want to go this time of year as they start to move. Now, if you get out a little bit sooner before they make that full transition all the way up, then you can look in that, say, 8 to 12 foot range, and you'll use the same type of baits. You'll just use one with a longer bill. Yeah. That's designed to get in that deeper range. And really, so if you guys are in a boat, here's the progression. So you're literally just going to follow the bait fish. And so as you move into the creek, they're not going to go from out on the deep ledges to straight to the very back of the creek in one day, right? They're going to transition. So they're going to follow, just think about if you're walking through the woods, you're going to follow a path. Well, bass do the same thing. And their path is they're going to follow the shoreline, and where they're going to stop and rest or where they're going to stop and feed is going to be the point going into the creek, or it's going to be on what they call the secondary points. All that means is anywhere that you're looking down the shoreline and it sticks out further than anywhere else, that's a point. Okay. And so as you're working your way back, start at the main mouth of the point of the creek, then hit all the secondary points until you get back to the very back. This time of year, get ready for, there's the sign. I got to start wrapping up. Start with top water. Top water is really starting to get good. We didn't bring anything really to talk about top water, but start there and then work your way deeper into the water column. Last bait we're going to talk about real quick, I know we got a couple minutes, so we got to hurry, is the rattle trap. So this is the Strike King red eye shad rattle traps. You guys are all familiar with that. I got three different sizes.
No lip.
No lip. It is a lipless crankbait is the actual terminology for it. Rattle trap is just kind of the generic terminology. But start with the small ones, typically a quarter ounce or 3/8, and then work your way to a half, which is a standard, all the way up to 3/4 ounce. Really, your 3/8 and half ounce are going to be your workhorses. You can take a bomb cast and you can spin them real fast, and they got a great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they got a great sound to them. So, Hey, thanks for having me. I know we kind of got off on some other tangents, but hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Don't forget the three main things. That's your faith, your family, and then your fishing. So, again, check me out, Jason Holland Fishing, all the social media platforms, Mr. Don, Mr. Jason, and a guy behind the camera, Mr. Todd. Thanks for having me again.
Thanks,
Look forward to doing it, hopefully, in the future.
Yeah. As always, it's been fun. You're a fun guest.
Well, good.
We learn a lot.
Well, I sure don't want to be a bad guest. That would be any fun, now would it? Thanks for coming, Jason. You're horrible. You'll never see you again. Let's not do that.
What is this, like your 8th or 10th time? You're in.
I made it.
You're in. All right. Well, yeah, thank you, Don. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Todd. It's Tennessee Wildcast. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org. And follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee Wildcast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.